Chapter 23, Mr. Kasigi. The conference could not possibly have gone better. I was congratulated by so many people that it was almost embarrassing. Our own district superintendent confided that the principalship of North High would be opening up in a couple of years and the job was mine for the asking. I felt fantastic. Why wouldn't I? I returned to Claveridge flushed with victory. I had no way of knowing that the key word in that sentence was going to be flushed. I expected a huge pile of mail and a lot of phone messages and emails, but as I sifted through papers, the envelopes on my desk, the familiar logo of Consolidated Savings Bank kept turning up. I opened the one marked Urgent and unfolded the computer-generated page inside. Dear customer, we are returning this check to you because your account is overdrawn and the transaction cannot be honored. A service fee for $30 has been charged to your account. Stapled to the page was a Claveridge Middle School check with insufficient funds stamped across it in red. It was made out to the American Cancer Society in the amount of $500. My own signature appeared on one of the lines, and the second was written Capricorn Anderson. My office tilted, and I clung to the arms of my chair for fear of winding up on the carpet. This was one of the checks I'd given Anderson. Why was he donating $500 to the American Cancer Society? Not that it wasn't a worthy cause, but this money was supposed to pay for the Halloween dance. Hand shaking, I opened a few more envelopes. They were all the same. March of Dimes, Habitat for Humanity, Cystic Fibrosis Foundations, all for hundreds. An icy feeling spread northward from the base of my spine. If these checks were bouncing, it meant the money in the Students' Activities Fund was gone. There had been $4,000 in that account. I waded into the mountain of mail with both hands, tossing envelopes in all directions until I came up with the bank statement. On it, the whole terrible story was laid out for me in detail. There were the checks I countersigned, the ones that had bounced and the ones that hadn't. I saw deposits for food and music, one or two other expenses that probably had to do with the dance. The rest were all made out to charities. One to the March of Caring was for $1,000. What was going on here? I buzzed my secretary. Get Capricorn Anderson down to my office immediately. Capricorn Anderson is no longer a registered student here. I nearly inhaled my tie. Since when? He left school last Wednesday, came the reply. His grandmother was released from the hospital. Get her on the phone. There was a brief pause then. It says here they don't have a phone. I did the only thing I could think of. I called Flora Donnelly. I left messages at her home, office, and cell number. I must have sounded pretty desperate because she turned up within the hour. By that time, I had already spoken to my bank manager and a very unfriendly assistant to the DJ who accused me of hanging rubber paper off my man, whatever that meant. I turned beseeching eyes to the social worker. This is your case, Flora. I know you have a special connection to the kid. Can you shine any light on it for me? She examined the evidence, the bank statements, and the bounce check. Her face was sickeningly gray. She looked like I felt. She said something I didn't expect. Frank, this is all your fault. My fault? What possessed you to give him signed checks? I was going out of town, I defended myself. I didn't want him to be caught short. Besides, we always give the kids some responsibility with the Student Activity Fund. They're teenagers. They're supposed to be able to handle it. I warned you that Cap Anderson is a boy who may as well have been raised on another planet. Okay, I admitted. I noticed he wasn't exactly streetwise, but that didn't stop him from committing fraud. He's no more capable of fraud than flying, she said flatly. And that right there in black and white, I insisted. He found a way to take the school's money and make it look like he donated it to charity. I've got no choice but to call the police. She was suddenly patient. When you gave him those checks, did you explain to him what a check is and how it works? Of course, I'm not a fool. No, she said, I mean exactly how it works. That the amount of the check is deducted from the balance in the account and that the money can run out. Everybody knows you can't spend more than you have. Frank, I never told you this. I lived on Garland Farm until I was 12. When my family moved, I never handled money, not even a penny. Money was the key to everything that was wrong with the world, and the leaders of the community kept any kind of financial dealings completely hidden from us kids. I guarantee you that Cap had no idea that anyone had to pay for the checks he was writing, and that the power to write them must have seemed almost magical. Once he realized that he could use that power to help people, there was no limit to how much he might try and give away. I was thunderstruck. Are you telling me that he really did take the entire student activity fund and donate it to charity? She nodded. He's got all the idealism of the 60s with none of the reality checks. He's not a criminal, he's the exact opposite. Totally innocent in every sense of the word. I held my head. It would have been easier if he robbed the school at gunpoint and taken off for the Mexican border. That I could have explained to the board, and insurance would have covered it. What am I going to do? Call the March of Dimes and demand my money back? You could try, she suggested reasonably. This can't be the first time an unauthorized person misspent money. Yeah, to buy a plasma TV, not to donate charity. Her face betrayed a ghost of a smile. Don't worry, at Garland, there's nowhere to plug in a plasma TV. Here's a charge that doesn't look very charitable, I muttered, still studying the bank statement. It's to a jewelry store on Main Street. She looked over my shoulder. I'm sure there's some explanation. Prizes, probably. Best dancer, best rap, most outrageous outfit, that kind of thing. I nodded numbly. That was the moment I realized there would be no dancing prizes because there would be no dance. It wouldn't be a popular decision, but I saw now that this was the only way. Sure, I could fight with the bank or plead with charities, but it would just make me look like a fool. Or I could drive out to this Garland place and demand that the grandmother replace the funds Cap frittered away. Still, who knew if they had any money at all? They were living an alternative lifestyle 40 years after the rest of the world had given up. The local papers would have a field day reporting that while I was running a principals conference in Las Vegas, my trusted 8th grade president was emptying the treasury. The job at North High was not going to be offered to a court jester. No, I had to cancel the dance, recoup what I could, and eat the rest. Flora Donnelly was right. This was my fault, but not for her reasons. I had long suspected how the kids went about picking their 8th grade president, and when I chose to look the other way, I was sort of putting a stamp of approval on it. But I always knew that one day it would blow up in their faces. I just never thought it would blow up in mine.